There was once a small, forgotten village called Mavuno. It was surrounded by beautiful green hills, fertile farmland, and a hardworking community. But despite having everything it needed to prosper, Mavuno remained poor. There were no proper shops, no large market, no banks, no workshops, no good roads. People traveled many kilometers to the nearest town, just to buy simple things or sell their farm produce. Most villagers had accepted their situation. They would often say, "This is just how our village is. Nothing will ever change." But there was one young boy who refused to believe that. His name was Andrea. Andrea was only 17 years old. But he had something that many adults had lost, a vision. Every morning as he walked through the village, Andrea noticed something others ignored. He saw farmers carrying sacks of maize, beans, fruits, and vegetables to distant towns. He saw women making beautiful crafts but struggling to find customers. He saw young people sitting around with nothing productive to do. And one day, Andrea stood on a small hill overlooking the village and said to himself, "Why should everyone leave this village to look for opportunities somewhere else? Why can't we create the opportunities here?" That question changed everything. The first step, Andrea started with something very small. He convinced his mother to allow him to use a small piece of land near the main road. With the little money he had saved, he built a simple wooden stall. He began buying vegetables from local farmers and selling them to travelers passing through the village. At first, people laughed at him. "Andrea, do you really think this little stall will change anything?" they asked. Andrea simply smiled. Every great town begins with a small idea. His business slowly grew. Then he opened a second stall. Then another young person joined him. Soon, Andrea started buying maize, beans, fruits, and crafts from villagers and connecting them with customers from nearby towns. Farmers began earning more. Young people began finding work. Women started selling their products. The village started becoming busier. The vision gets bigger. But Andrea didn't stop. He understood that selling products wasn't enough. The village needed infrastructure. So he organized the young people and they began cleaning the roads. He approached local leaders and explained his vision. He encouraged business owners from nearby towns to visit Mavuno. Eventually, small shops began appearing. A bakery opened, then a hardware shop, then a restaurant, then a mobile money center, then a small clinic, then a grain processing business. People who had once left the village looking for opportunities began returning. Within a few years, the little village looked completely different. The dusty road had become a busy commercial street. Farmers arrived early in the morning with their produce. Traders came from neighboring villages. Young people who had once complained about unemployment were now running businesses. And the place that everyone had once called a forgotten village had become one of the busiest business centers in the region. Andrea's greatest lesson. One afternoon, an elderly man approached Andrea. He looked at the busy streets and smiled. "Tell me, Andrea," he said, "how did you manage to transform this village?" Andrea looked around. Then he answered, "I didn't transform the village alone. I only helped people see what was already possible." The old man smiled. Andrea continued, "The village had land. It had hardworking people. It had farmers, young people, ideas, and resources. What it lacked was someone willing to believe that tomorrow could be better than today." Years later, Andrea became a successful businessman and community leader. He built a training center where young people could learn entrepreneurship. He helped farmers form cooperatives. He encouraged people to start small businesses instead of waiting for someone to give them jobs. And whenever someone asked him about his success, he always gave the same answer. "I didn't start with money. I started with a vision." The moral: Andrea's story teaches us something powerful. Great transformation does not always begin with great resources. Sometimes it begins with one person who can see a future that others cannot yet see. You may be living in a small village. You may have very little money. You may be surrounded by people who tell you that your dreams are impossible. He didn't wait for the village to become great before he started. He started because he believed the village could become great. Your idea may look small today. Your business may be small. A great business center can begin with one small shop. A great company can begin with one customer. A great movement can begin with one person. And a transformed community can begin with one young person who refuses to give up on his vision. Maybe that person is you. So don't just ask, what can I get from my community? Ask yourself, what can I build that will make my community better? Because sometimes the greatest success is not leaving your village to find a better place. Sometimes the greatest success is building a better place where you are. Andrea looked at a small, forgotten village, but he didn't see what it was. He saw what it could become. That is what vision does. Vision allows you to see the future before it becomes visible to everyone else. People may laugh at your dream. They may tell you that your ideas are too big, your circumstances are too difficult, or that you should simply accept life as it is. But remember this: every great transformation begins with someone who sees something that others cannot yet see. Your circumstances may describe where you are today, but your vision can determine where you will be tomorrow. See it, believe it, work for it, and never stop building the future you can.